Hey everybody, welcome to the PixelBlips podcast for March 30th, 2014. I'm Andy Ryan, and I can't think of anything funny. Dave, what have you been playing this week?
So if you've been watching the channel, I've been playing Final Fantasy X HD.
HD.
I went ahead and bought both copies.
Okay, so can I just have your copy of Final Fantasy X normal?
No, it's
Like
my
had-
PS2 version. Fuck you. Why do you want...
I keep almost buying it too. That's the only thing. Is like money is so tight, like right now for
Yeah, I was
me.
gonna say because it's
I got
I mean,
sick and
best,
everything.
Best case you can do is it's like what $15-20 maybe.
Oh, the
I've seen it
PS2
for less.
version?
I've seen it for like 8 at some places.
The PS2 version, I've seen it for 3 on eBay. So.
Oh well, shit. But you know, and it's a pretty good
It's a very common game.
Yeah, it is a very common game. Everybody bought it because it was like, oh my god, it's first Final Fantasy for the PS2. I'm liking it, right? Like the voice acting is still god awful in a lot of instances. That was supposed to be bad, I think.
Like I had nightmares.
That was supposed to be bad. I think that wasn't supposed to be like a good actual.
Have you gotten into 10.2 yet?
No, I don't think I'm going to play Let's Dress Up Yuna and Riku and Pain.
Okay, well then can I have your download code? Because
it's all on one disc for the PS for the PS4 or PS3.
I'll definitely play 10.2 again.
And I bought the virtual version of the Vita version, so I own both, and I can't give you either.
The virtual version of the Vita
the one on the store. I bought the store version of the one for the Vita. I bought it for both platforms.
Oh, okay.
Because you can do the cross save, and there's some.
It's like the Metal Gear Solid collections.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the Vita version just because, like, if you tap the screen, it'll bring up a menu that's like, do you want to auto heal your whole party? Yeah, sure, let's do that. I wish that was in the PS3 version, but it's not.
Maybe you shake the
controller.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm using a DualShock 4, so I don't think that'll work.
You can't.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But it's fun. I'm playing with the International Sphere Grid, so it's like, okay, you are free to F up all your characters, go the wrong way, and Lulu starts learning white magic instead of black magic.
Yeah, based on the initial sales numbers, I think originally I was going to buy it for the Vita because I was like, you know what, if I don't buy this, they're not going to release 10, they're not going to release 12. And they kept saying like, oh, there's no bearing, there's no bearing, there's no bearing. And then like the first week sales numbers came back in, and I was like, yeah, you guys are totally doing that because you'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait for 12 and I'll borrow it from Dave.
Yeah. Well, when I get done with it, you can borrow it and play it on your PS3.
Well, the point is, you're already done with the PS2 version. I should be able to borrow it.
Do you really want 10 that bad?
No, but I'll play it again.
I'll play it again. Well, you can play the better looking version. So I've been playing that, and I picked up the Diablo expansion this last week, like Wednesday or Thursday. And I've been playing a lot of the Crusader class. So
you're not going to wait until the PlayStation 4 version comes out. That's interesting.
No, I'm probably going to buy that version too, so that you and me will play.
I wish I had all your money.
You don't have. Well, I don't have a bunch of dogs and shit.
You don't have horrible amounts of medical bills. So.
That too. But yeah, you know, I'm really liking the Crusader class. It plays a lot like a WoW Paladin almost, and I noticed something really weird, and it's a Blizzard thing. They're just reusing assets from other games. But one of the abilities for the Crusader, I think, turns him into a giant orc from WoW. Like he gets the red skin, and then he has like a big set of armor, and he's got like the same character model and animations as a WoW orc. But overall, like I'm having a lot of fun with the class. I haven't played any of the new act yet because my wife wanted to start a Crusader, and she wanted to play that, and I'm like, okay, we'll do that. Even though
it must suck to have a wife that plays video games.
I know, right? But so we played like, God, what did we play? We played like 4 or 5 hours yesterday, and I think we're both like level 20. And I've got a higher level Crusader that I've been playing all week by myself. But it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I like the loot.
That's the one thing you do that drives me bonkers.
What?
Is that like if someone wants to play with you, you're like, okay, fine. You start a separate character just to play with them, but you're off playing the rest of the game.
I am, yeah.
Like enjoying it. Like that's the one thing that's always like, but
I know.
I don't want. Like I want to play the game with you.
The
I don't
problem
want to play
is
the game like.
I just bought 2 copies of the Diablo expansion. I paid $80 for this game. I'm not going to sit on it for 4 days waiting on somebody else.
See, I would. Andy's more caring. I like to cuddle. Anyway.
Good for you. So that's pretty much all I've been playing this week. My work schedule flips, so now I'm working overnight. So I've got lots of time to do stuff in the middle of the week on the days. So what have you been up to?
I've been in a lot of waiting rooms, so I played a lot of Thomas Was Alone? Thomas Is Alone?
It was a free game on the Vita, right?
Yeah.
And the PS3.
No,
it's cross-buy.
It's cross-buy, and they give you both versions. And I really love it, because I love the same reason I liked the Stanley Parable, like the British narrator.
Really?
Like
now I'm going to have to play that game.
It's not the same guy, but it is another British narrator.
that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like the game itself would be totally stupid, but if it was that narrator, I'm just
it just makes it so much better. It makes it so much more fun.
He's like, Thomas was a rectangle, and Thomas noticed he was alone, and he noticed he could fall, and that alone thing. I'm just like, this is so great.
Okay.
So occasionally, I'll get to the objective, without knowing that there's another part the British narrator is going to start. So he'll, half start that part of the...
He'll start his sentence and he won't be able to finish it.
Right as I hit the objective, I'm like, no!
That's why you always wait for him to stop talking before you move again. I noticed that in the Stanley Parable, because if you haul ass through the zones, I mean, if you've already seen it, it's one thing to just tear ass through. But it's another thing if you're there and you're looking around, and you're like, oh, this is all cool. And then you walk through a doorway, he'll start up another thing, and you'll miss the punchline, or you'll miss the ending of whatever it was he was saying, and it really kind of sucks.
So I've also been on vacation, so I had time to myself. So I've been playing a lot of Yakuza 4, and I've been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid 3. And every time I play through Metal Gear Solid 3, I have to be resolute in my favorite Metal Gear Solid is Metal Gear Solid, not 3, because even though this is really good.
Yeah. Why is Solid better than 3 then? Just out of curiosity. Why would you think
Because the things that happen in 3 that they added, like having to micromanage your camouflage and stuff, that's really cool, but it takes you out of the game so much to do that.
Oh, because you have to go through menus and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like you can say, okay, it's not
like
you have
Gear,
hot buttons where you can go.
They perfected it. Yeah, they perfected it in Metal Gear Solid 4, where you just kind of lay down and the camouflage adapted if you wanted it to adapt. Or you could go in and change the camouflage in the menu if you wanted. So obviously, there's a story point to that. Metal Gear Solid 4 happens in the future, and Metal Gear Solid 3 happens in the 60s.
Yeah.
And
something.
So having adaptive camouflage then wouldn't be as good as.
Well, and it would be how did they have this then and not have it in?
I mean, in terms
Solid
of
and 2.
In terms of the Metal Gear Solid mechanics and story and where the best part of all those things together is, it's still Peace Walker.
Yeah.
But that is, of course, hindered by the fact that Peace Walker is on the PSP, and unless you get the Vita or the HD collection versions, it is kind of hard to play. There's a barrier to entry there.
Okay.
But I played it through, loved it once again. All Metal Gear Solid games are great. I'm sure once Ground Zero ends up being, part of Metal Gear Solid 5, it will also be great.
Are you banking on when you buy 5, you're going to get Ground Zeroes as well?
Based on the fact that when you bought 3, you got the research missions, the
extra content.
That's not extra content. It's basically the first chapter of the game where you go to get Sokolov. The demo for Metal Gear Solid 3 was just that part of the game.
Oh, okay.
Same part with Metal Gear Solid 2. When you bought Metal Gear Solid 2, you got the tanker anyway. You could opt to not do that
skip
part
the tanker,
if you'd already played it, but...
So you think that this $30 or $40 demo that they've released is going to be part of the $60 product that comes out later?
I think what's not going to be part of the $60 product is all the extra mission modes in Ground Zeroes. So if you want to play that special PlayStation mode or special Xbox mode, or the super weird one where it's you have to get through not killing anybody,
so the extra objective stuff.
The extra objective stuff, I don't think that will be included, but based on the walkthrough I watched and what goes on in that in relation to the Phantom Pain, it would be very odd if Ground Zeroes was not tacked onto the front of the Phantom Pain when you bought it as a disc, or that you got the Phantom Pain edition as a download code to play through first.
Okay. I mean, it just seems why would you sell somebody a $40 product and then give it to them however many months later as part of.
Well, I think that's just Konami. I think people at Konami are like, we're sitting on this Metal Gear. Like, I think they learned their lesson with Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, that game was supposed to come out at the launch of the PlayStation. It didn't. It was supposed to come out, a couple months later. It didn't. It started getting very expensive.
It got delayed.
They seriously thought about making an Xbox version, which is totally true. I've read interviews with Kojima where he was like, yeah, there were talks of it, but
we never got that far.
We were pretty resolute in the fact that we need to get this out for the PlayStation 3, and I don't even want to mess with the Xbox version until that's done.
Well, I mean, okay.
So I think Konami said, guys, is there a way we can cut this off? And I think if Konami had another PlayStation 4 game coming out in that time slot, I think you would have seen something very similar to what happened with both Zone of the Enders 1 and...
they would have bundled it in?
Yeah, I can't remember what the demo disc for Metal Gear Solid 3 came with, but they would have bundled it in.
Okay. I mean,
I think the $40 retail version is for collectors like me.
Somebody who wants the box that's I've got this, and then I've got the big main story that's 25 hours long.
Like me playing Metal Gear Solid 3 was basically, I want to play Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, but I'm not going to spend the money.
You can't play it, so you're going to play the newest version. Well, no, because you'll be playing 5.
Yeah, I've been playing 4 or Peace Walker.
4.
Which is another weird thing that we can get into this in another episode, but it's odd that, it's not odd in a storytelling sense that what happens in the Phantom Pain is going to tie so heavily into what happened in Peace Walker and Portable Ops and Snake Eater, but the fact that if you followed the Metal Gear Solid storyline and not bought Portable Ops and Peace Walker, you were going to miss a huge part of that story based on characters.
So, well, if you don't have...
Maybe we can talk about that next week, because we're burning up a lot of time.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of stuff. Anyway.
We want to talk about the Oculus and the Morpheus. Well, is it the Morpheus?
I think it's Project Morpheus right now. Morpheus. So GDC was last week?
Yes.
And Sony Sony came out and... they showed that Sony likes to hold off on stuff, right? They're like, oh, we've got all these projects.
Keep their cards kind of close to the chest.
Nothing's ready to be shown. And then all of a sudden, like at GDC this year, they're like, hey, guess what? We have this thing that almost looks like a retail product.
Yeah.
And so maybe they've got the aesthetic down, but according to some of the stuff I was reading, they're not actually at a consumer level with it yet, but it is at dev kit level. Yeah. So they're sending it out basically where the Rift is.
Yeah, that was the good example with putting it at GDC. Kind of like when they announced the Vita right before GDC, and then at GDC they were like, okay, here are all the dev tools that you guys are going to need for the Vita and maybe the next thing we're working on, which was the PlayStation 4, but they didn't say it.
Yeah. Well.
Kind of like last year, they announced the PlayStation 4 at its own event, they come to GDC and they're like, okay guys, here it is, here's the dev kits, go.
Yeah. And Project Morpheus...
I don't think the Morpheus is going to be in retail. I don't think the retail... It won't be this Christmas. It might be next Christmas.
They've said it will not hit stores this year.
Yeah.
It will be... If it comes out, because they're still this big, it may never ship because Sony's not happy with it.
Yeah.
Overarching everything. But
it will be out next year sometime. LCD screens... cheap enough,
and
small
really
enough,
taking 2 Vita screens and going like this is not a good idea.
No. Well, but the thing is they're not
Vita screens. They're smaller than Vita screens.
They're smaller than Vita screens, and the problem with LCD screens is that they're just pixels.
Yeah.
So when it gets really close to your face,
you get what they call it screen dooring.
Yeah, screen door is what So because you can see the gaps in the pixels, so they're kind of need to figure out that.
Or they need to get them so small that you can't see them anymore. I would think that they would like to use LEDs. They can get them as small as possible, but
they've already said LCD because they're trying to get it as cheap as possible.
Well, yeah.
This will eventually be a consumer product, so your dream machine can't be this.
It could be this, but it would be expensive.
I imagine there's somewhere back in the Sony archives, because they showed a bunch of pictures of all the weird ones they had mocked up. My favorite picture is Shu with the one that has a move
attached
controller
to the top.
Duct taped to it. No, it's the one where it's sideways and sitting on top of the visor. Because the move bubble is over here on the side of his head.
Yeah, and it would just track with the way his head moved where the move ball was.
And then there's of course one where it's just 2 LCD screens dangling in front of your face, which really reminded me of. You remember that old Tiger Electronics thing that was right here,
and it was just one eye, and you would see it,
and it was just red blobs.
Yeah, that was
I was like, that's so what that reminded me
Yeah,
of.
yeah. But everything I've read about it is, it's pretty decent. Like, it's not. They're still trying to get it underneath that 40 milliseconds sweet spot, which is like the acceptable minimum for VR that won't make everybody sick.
Yeah, they're saying that there's like this, like them and the Oculus Rift, they're both still trying to nail down this 40, I think it's 40
millisecond delay.
40 millisecond delay. They're like, we want to go even lower. So like both the Morpheus and the Oculus Rift have hit that, and I think now the thing is, between the processing power of the standardized PS4 and a PC, like,
and
we
whatever
shove this
hardware
even
is in
lower?
this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
the gyroscopes, and I think it's better than the here's why I think it's better than the Oculus Rift, because it is tracking your head in 3D space, not based on gyroscopes, but based on light emitting diodes. So it actually knows where your head is in 3D space.
Assuming you have a
It's the
PS4 camera.
Yeah, the difference between the Move, the difference between
The Move and the Wiimote?
And the Wiimote.
Yeah.
Like the Wiimote is
and they've already
all passive.
Like I've already seen some stuff or read some stuff. Maybe I imagined it. I don't know. Where they were talking about how you could use the Move as like you would just have two Move controllers.
I think that was the demo they did with the Knight dummy, where you could pick up a sword. Like you took the Move controller and then you
click
just
the button
click
and then
the button, pick it up.
The other thing,
and you could hack at things.
Exactly. And I was thinking, oh wow, that'd be awesome in Skyrim, right? Like.
Oh, but here's the thing. I think the virtual reality problem is that like the coolest things virtual reality can do, you wouldn't want a game built around.
No.
Like you want all these to be like 30-minute micro game. Well, yeah, micro game is a good term for it.
Something that's less than an hour.
Like you're on a ride.
The roller coaster demo they have for Oculus.
Oculus, yeah, which is hilarious to watch people react to. Oculus you have to sit down for. Morpheus you can stand up and walk around because the camera can track your skeleton. And the cool thing is, like, if you bend your knees and squat in one of the demos, you can look down and watch the guy bend his knees.
You can see his knees.
Now, they didn't program in lifting up your foot, so they said, like, one guy was like, I tried to lift up my foot, and it didn't lift up in the game, and I almost immediately lost my balance.
Yeah. But, that's
so,
part
like, what's the Dust thing? Dust 514? What universe is that actually? EVE Online.
The Eve universe.
The Eve Valkyrie thing, where they have the guy sitting in the chair with the controller moving around, and it's tracking his body and his shoulders to like where they're moving. Like, that's cool. That works as a game, but as a guy who plays a lot of Wing Commander, those missions don't last long.
No.
And you can't really do, like, you can't marathon Wing Commander or TIE Fighter or I can't even think to bring it forward close.
Because we don't
combat? Like, do they even make those cockpit games anymore? The space combat.
Well, I mean,
like
think about
Warhawk is the last one I can think of.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got Warhawk. You could also take it for like a driving game versus a flying game.
You're not like driving around a race course is really, really cool. Driving a commute is not, because there's a time difference.
Yeah.
And like, so when you terms of like, wouldn't that be cool in Skyrim? You gotta think about, like, in Skyrim, you also have to open up your menu, go through your inventory, all this other bullshit. Yeah. Like, no, it wouldn't be cool for Skyrim. What it would be cool for is like
it would be
God
cool.
of War.
Yeah, and I could see where it would be good for Skyrim if they took a lot of that menu stuff and made it
like, here's the difference
in the world. Like, you would look up and then you would see your menu and you would go like this and
that'd be even more disorienting. Have you played Dragon Quest Swords?
No.
Okay, it's basically an arcade game where you're like hacking at things, and then like you moved forward to the next objective and you hack at things. That's what this would be good for.
Yeah.
Because
so an on-rails.
Yeah,
shooter.
it's a consumer product.
Yeah.
So like,
but
like I would like it for that Chivalry game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were just going through hacking at dudes. There's no inventory management, no quests to get. This is all you were doing.
You just go.
Yeah.
First person knighting.
But the problem with that is, once again, you have to move yourself in 3D space, and your living room isn't going to be as big as any of these places that you're doing this stuff in, and no one's going to make you buy an omnidirectional treadmill.
But I want an Omni. That way I can play Team Fortress and have my little gun peripheral and run.
It's fine. Like, I played with the Move gun peripheral to play Killzone 3, and like the problem with that was after 30 minutes you got really tired. Because you're doing this, as opposed to this.
Well, yeah.
To come into the iron sights.
But I mean, you're I'm sure your brother, who's been in the military, could probably do that for an exponentially longer time than you could.
That's true.
Because you don't have these.
Yeah, but most of us haven't been in the military.
No.
And as a consumer product, you have to like think like. That's why I think the scuba diving, the 2 scuba diving demos that they showed on the Oculus and they showed on the Morpheus. The one where you're in the Morpheus, you're in a shark cage. Really cool.
Yeah.
The one in the Oculus where you're like going through like the ruins of like this is probably an alien ship crash landed on the base. Like that's also really cool. But those are all built around what I call like amusement park rides, where it's basically like the Back to the Future ride at Universal Studios. May you rest in peace. One in Orlando.
I like that.
Where like your cart is only moving this much. But because of the screen and all the stuff that you're visually being fed,
you're going like this. But yeah, the carts only move, 10 or 15 degrees in any direction.
Yeah. So, like, these are things that you're going to want, like, either on your couch, or, like, very micro experiences. Like, we have to radically rethink how we did games. Case in point, the Wiimote waggle. When it worked good in stuff like Wii Sports, it was okay, yeah. But when we
feel like I'm playing tennis or bowling or whatever.
But when we tried to bolt that mechanism on a standard game, we got a lot of like shake to do nothing, and that was stupid.
Jiggle the Wiimote to make Mario jump. Or whatever the hell it was in.
Well, that was kind of cool because like he had to have the little propeller suit, and it felt like you were going like that, and he was. But the jiggle the Wiimote to pick shit up was stupid.
For the Wii in general, the first-party games worked way better.
If they weren't named Twilight Princess. Just saying, the GameCube version of that is way better.
It is. But, once you got those controls down, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. Because I played like 4 hours of it one day.
We can all think of like very bad versions of Wiimote waggle games.
Yes.
And that's why the Wii went away, because people were like...
Did it really? It still exists.
No, but it's true. Because people had to stop and think like, okay, we can't make normal games for this anymore. So like when they do the Morpheus games, there's not going to be Elder Scrolls 7 Morpheus edition.
No. It'd be cool, but I doubt it.
It'd be cool. Like people are like, I can't wait to play Fallout on this. Like, no, you're not going to want to play Fallout on this. Because moving your head to look around as much as you look around in Fallout is going to kill your neck and make you want to vomit. Not because there's delay, but because you're like this all the goddamn time.
Yeah. I can see your point, right? But it would be cool to see like a small demo for
It'd be cool to see like Killzone Morpheus Edition instead of Killzone Shadowfall 2 Morpheus Edition.
You would just see like a small version of Killzone and you play like this one map or this one mission.
Yeah, it would be like different. Missions would be built differently. You wouldn't have like, here's a wide open space to explore and figure out all these different ways to take on this objective. It would be like Call of Duty style. Here is an alleyway, get to the other end of it.
Yeah. So, with all this talk of VR, VR is like, it's still in its like real...
And it's actual VR, as opposed to like the Virtual Boy or what you and I got in arcades in the 90s, where it's like, here's Wolfenstein with a controller and a headset, and the screen is just here. Yeah. And there's no, like, you don't move in your head no matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter what you did. It's still in its like super infancy stages as far as like real VR and being able to do it at home. You could be able to do this, not forever, but for the last couple of years. They've been getting better. But
what one was it? I'm trying to remember what game it was. I think it was Descent.
Descent.
When I was in Vegas at GameWorks, I played Descent VR mode, and it was basically like it felt like it was once again the cart's only moving this much, but with the head you were like whoa, because it tracked where your head was in terms of where you're looking, and that made sense in Descent because it's 360 degrees of motion around, so I could go like this and look below me and go forward.
Yeah, and it was really like.
But you also didn't see like your body in the cockpit or anything.
No, you don't. But
it was Descent, so you were looking at, what was that? It was a dash, 2 circles on either side, and like 2 little angular things.
For the reticle?
Yeah. That was basically the only thing you saw on
screen.
And
like maybe some of the cockpit around the side, it would like have
I don't think you saw the cockpit in this mode.
Oh, I'm saying in like the regular mode, you didn't see that, but yeah.
I'm trying to think of what I actually saw. I remember seeing like...
So three-dimensional flying
you could see
through
your
a mine?
shield. Yeah, you could see your shields, and you could see your rockets.
So
I think
like
that was
the
it.
middle part of
like a
the
cooldown?
screen?
Yeah. It was cool, but having that in home would be even cooler.
It would, except it would be cost prohibitively expensive.
Yes. And people were like, oh, we're going to have omnidirectional treadmills. Like, no, that's stupid because you have to realize, no offense to the gaming population, we're not the fittest people in the world.
Maybe that we can fix that.
And like, as we learned with motion controls and with, now we're learning with VR, still there's a reason to have the controller and buttons and the sticks.
Yeah. Well, and not everybody can do VR anyway, because no matter how you...
Yeah, it's kind of like 3D,
how precise it is.
No matter how well you do it, like there are people that, don't have the right...
They can't see well out of one eye, or they can't see out of another eye. Like, they could be the governor, they only have one eye.
You mean Big Boss only has one eye.
No.
Something from a better series.
I'm going for a Walking Dead reference.
But yeah, so like... And that's the problem with bringing these things to consumer market. You have to think, this thing, even when it launches, will probably launch close to the price of the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, it will, I'm going to guess it's going to be around $400, if not more.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a price tag for a peripheral.
Yeah. And
now, if you could use it with a PC, it might not be so bad, because then you're not just buying it for one box. You can use it for 2 boxes, but it would require like some specialized software.
That's the thing with the Oculus. You're only buying it for 1 box.
Yeah.
Well,
now you're buying it so you can play your games while checking your Facebook shit. No.
I think it speaks more to the fact that Facebook understands that eventually they're going to go away as a social platform, because you can only deal with so many weird shares from your aunts and uncles,
or ex-girlfriends, or guys you
or
barely
like
knew in high school.
people you went to college with.
Yeah.
And like, they got into the game space, and like the revenue for Facebook games is plummeting. Like they're
ever since that whole King Media thing where they tried to copyright Candy and Saga.
Well, yeah, but
like
people really don't care. I mean, the mass populace of Facebook has no clue what that is.
No, they don't care about that.
But they're kind of Facebook's understanding, like, we're going to need to go in other directions.
If we're going to stay relevant in 5 years or 10 years.
And if they're talking about building a Facebook like PlayStation Home, where it's a virtual space that you walk through.
That would make sense to do it on the Rift.
Yeah, but at the same time, are people going to buy it? Like, are the vast people in Facebook going to buy a Rift, or is this going to be? Is this ever going to be a viable consumer product? I say probably not.
Not just for not just for the PC. Like the Rift, Morpheus, and if Microsoft ever decides they want to come out with a headset, which I'm pretty sure they're working on, I would like.
I don't know. I don't give Microsoft that much credit in their games division.
Not anymore.
I think they kind of need to get. I think they kind of went, oh wait, this is a thing. Okay, we should get on it.
I think if you're going to buy one of these big chunks of hardware, you should be able to use it on multiple platforms. Now, granted, you are more likely to have multiple PCs in your house than you are to have multiple PS4s.
That's true, but I also say, like, if these both came out as consumer products, the Morpheus would do better.
Probably.
At the same price point. Once you go another higher price point, all bets are off. Thank you, Xbox One.
Yeah.
Just because, like, Sony can sell it as, hey, you have that PlayStation 4 box under your TV. Here's one that goes on your face.
Here's a TV that goes on. Now, see, that would be cool. Like, could you watch 3D movies with this thing?
I'm sure Sony's already. I'm sure that was a hurdle that Sony was like, that's
whatever done.
We've been able to do that. Like,
you can watch
since we
3D
had
movies on the PS3.
Yeah, since we had 3D movies on the PS3, like we have, like 2 days later, the prototype was able to do it. So whatever.
Well, that's good. You can't watch 3D movies on the PS4 yet.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know. Firmware.
I think that that's one firmware,
but
I think that like Sony has the digs in.
Yeah.
Problem is, I don't think you're ever going to buy more than one of these per household.
No.
It's never going to replace your TV. It's never going to replace like the mode that like I watched that movie Her, and it has like this 3D hologram TV. Maybe if we ever got there, but that's not a VR headset on your face, because the problem is, if you are not the person with the VR headset on your face,
you are completely lost.
Everyone else is like staring at you. It's very clear that you don't want anything to do with anyone else. Like, it is the new version of like that dude on the subway that has his cell phone right here and he is texting intently.
Because he doesn't want to deal with anybody. But when you're on the subway, you don't really want to deal with those people. If they're in your house, they're probably your friends.
But it's true that like watching TV is a social experience.
Yeah, because you can sit there and talk about what the hell's going on.
So this is never going to replace that TV. Watching a movie is a social experience. This is never going to replace watching a movie. Playing a game with the re-emergence of couch co-op is a distinctly social experience.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you're sitting there playing with the dude next to you. Now, I think
I'm reminded of this one Penny Arcade where he has like a headset on and she's like, "You're watching porn, aren't you?" He's like, "Maybe."
Maybe.
Because it's like, I mean, that's what Sony's thinking about. That's why when they brought this thing out, it already looks like a consumer product. They've already fixed problems that the Oculus Rift is still dealing with, like, why does it feel like there's a bunch of shit on the front of your face when there's a bunch of shit on the front of your face? Like, you keep wanting to go like this. And Sony's like, well, we can just put a weight back
counterweight
here
on the back
that'll balance it out, and it's like a bike helmet. You click into it, and it sucks onto your head.
Well, and it's also got like this little headrest thing that goes like right here.
Yeah,
so it also kind of helps
here, not here,
where your body's not meant to have a lot of weight on it. But yeah, having a counterweight on it would definitely help.
So I think there's like, when I'm sure there was an Oculus person at the Morpheus announce going, "Oh shit, that is a good idea." Like, yeah,
counterweight.
Because Sony intuitively thinks about things as this has to be a consumer product.
Yeah, the Oculus Rift
is super cool, guys. Eventually, we have to sell this to people.
While I think both of these products are really cool,
yes.
I think the Sony one will do better. Not just because Oculus got bought out by Facebook and everybody hates Facebook.
No, but I think Oculus is intrinsically looking at it from a developer point of view.
They are, and you know that's why they brought Carmack in.
It's why I think the Steam box isn't going to ever do as good as the Xbox One or not maybe the Xbox One, as a PlayStation, because Valve doesn't think about things as consumer products. Sony does. Valve thinks about what is the best way to get PC games out to people. Oculus thinks about what's the best way to get 3D virtual reality working on a PC. Meanwhile, Sony's just thinking about, hey, how do we sell this to like Grandma Oakley out in Oklahoma, like, because we're going to need to do that eventually down the line if we're not going to go bankrupt.
Yeah, well, you know, they lose money left over.
I mean, like, they've shown all these weird things in that Dream Factory that Richard Marks runs for Sony, and it's just like, he's literally upfront about it. He's like, 98% of the shit we do, you ain't ever going to see, because it's just, there's no way we can sell it to you.
It's really cool, and other people are working on similar stuff, but I don't think we're ever going to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the weirdest thing about this whole, well, not the weirdest, I think it's a really bad knee-jerk reaction, right? With everybody just completely dumping all over the Rift right now, right? Like, I understand.
I'm not dumping on the Rift.
Not you. I'm saying the internet in general is like, oh my God, we're done with you, Oculus.
Oh, that's just that comes back to the reason I don't want to do this show, the reason I don't want to play on stuff anymore, on online anymore, the reason I don't even want to go to websites anymore is that you guys.
Hates everywhere.
This is way too much. They're way too hateful. This is a hobby. Like, people were, like, I saw a thing today, people got death threats over the Facebook thing.
Yeah, well, you know.
Like, that is totally illegal. One. Two, the person that you're death threatening probably had no control over this. Three, it was a smart business decision for Oculus to do this and for Facebook to do this.
It was. And I'm not saying it's not. Like, I'm saying it's a lot of the, you know, the backers getting super pissed. Just because you back the product doesn't mean
you have no, like, they give you the thing that you paid for. Like, I backed Pure Solar on the auspiciousness that I'm going to get Pure Solar for my Dreamcast. If I don't get that, I can be pissed. Outside of that, you guys do anything you want.
If you already have your, like, if you kickstarted it and you got your Oculus, you know, the first generation or the second generation of it, good for you. You got your Rift.
The Veronica Mars movie just came out, and people were like, oh, the Veronica Mars movie is making money at the box office. What are the backers going to get?
Nothing.
I'm a backer of that. I don't care. I have the digital version. Thank you very much. I had to spend 8 hours one day figuring out how to get that digital version onto something that could play on my TV. I jumped that hurdle. We're good. We're done. Cool. Next.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it shows that, like, just because you kickstart something doesn't mean you have a say in what that company does with your money. No. Just like, you know, you
have a say in, did I get my shit?
Yeah. If you didn't get your
yes or
stuff,
no question.
Like, yeah, if Pebble had failed and you didn't get the watch that you ordered from them, regardless of the quality of the watch, you got what you bought.
Yep.
Like,
you actually bought it sight unseen.
Yes, you can be upset that
if my Dreamcast copy of Pure Solar has shitty cover art, I can't say anything about it because I bought it sight unseen.
Yeah, you bought it. It's just like buying shit on eBay.
Well, at least eBay gives you a picture.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, it's like
Craigslist.
Or Craigslist, yeah.
There we go.
There's no guarantee that what you're buying is worth it. Now, granted, you usually have to meet the person and
actually exchange, but, like, Kickstarter is something different.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, you know, you can't be pissed about the way that the company that you kickstarted goes. Tough shit. Get over it.
It's a company. They make money. Like,
Yeah.
we want them, like, it's super cool when Sony comes out and says, thank you for buying 6 million of our things. You know, it's super cool when Microsoft gives you a free game because their service was down, but they don't have to. They're only in the business. There are people they're making money. They're platform holders. They want to make art. They want to do cool things for you. They want to get you excited. But at the end of the day, there's a dude in a suit and a tie going, how are we going to sell this to Grandma Oakley in Oklahoma? Because we need to sell this because you need to get paychecks that don't bounce.
Yeah. You know, I think...
And Oculus started to, like, Oculus things went up when the Morpheus was announced, but right now it's not. Like,
well, that's because the internet hates Facebook,
Well,
and people like, and I don't know
It's
what
also
stocks are
because-
going on. I know people were selling Oculus stock, or were they buying?
there's a different company that has the name Oculus.
Well, there's several different companies that have the same that have the name
Yeah.
Oculus in them, and people were like buying that stock up rapidly.
Yeah, thinking that was the Facebook company,
And it
but no,
wasn't.
the
That
company
was
that
funny.
makes
It's called like Oculus VR or something like that.
is not a publicly traded company.
No.
So,
And then you got guys like Notch who are like, up, I'm done.
Yeah.
You're going to Facebook, I'm out.
Yeah,
And you know
and
that's his
100%.
choice. Is it a good choice? I don't know. I'm not Notch. It's a good choice for him. He thinks.
Notch has tons of money. I don't think
Yeah, he
he
doesn't
cares.
care. I think he was
I
gonna
think he
give-
can make a couple bad choices and still be okay.
Yeah.
But like the Morpheus came out and had its debutante ball coming out party as this looks like a consumer product that
It does.
I would buy in a store. Whereas like the first Oculus prototypes,
It was
the
like,
first time we saw the Oculus, it didn't look like that.
well, it was super prototypey. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was. It was a prototype.
like
This-
even
this
when
thing,
even the Kickstarted dev kits still did not look like something that you would buy in a store. Whereas like Sony intelligently, in my case,
They
because you-
waited
you-
to
you
announce
are
the
like-
product until
because
it
you
was-
were like trying to sell people on something that will radically change their environment. And I think Sony was right to wait and come out with something that looked like a thing you would buy
but you
in a
know,
store.
technology, the progress of technology, isn't always pretty from beginning to end.
That's true. And that's why Sony also said like, hey, we've been working on this for years and look at these funny
yeah.
pictures of Shuhei Yoshida with shit duct taped to his head.
Yeah, and you know, they probably have like if they ever like release a history of the Morpheus or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like they'll probably have all of like the sketches and then
Yeah.
the pictures of Shea, Duder with the stuff on his face
Yep.
and stuff like that. And then they'll be like, these are the three designs that we decided we were going to work on. And then in like 2 hours before the press conference, we were like, this is
That
the
one.
one. And you know,
that's how they did the PlayStation 4. I don't think that's how they did the
No, they probably
Morpheus
didn't.
because they had test units.
yeah.
But it's like they kind of sat down and said this has to be a consumer product,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't show its ugly. They didn't show its chubby middle school pictures.
So what? Okay, so we'll say
So
if Oculus and Morpheus started at the same time, we didn't know about Morpheus until it got to here.
Yes.
And now Oculus is like here. It's like a
Yep.
step behind because it's still not in the pretty
It's
to
not
sell
in the pretty
stage.
stage.
But
Yes.
I mean,
and because of that,
I think I would like to see this story as it unfolds versus this story when they withhold information, not withhold, but we knew they were working on VR, we just didn't confirm it. But we didn't know anything about it until here. I would rather see this as it goes and be able to help like the Kickstarter guys.
yep, that's because you're a PC gamer. You're a guy that kickstarts things. But,
Actually, I've never Kickstarted anything, but I would like to if I had the money, if I wasn't spending all my money on games.
okay. Anyway, but most people don't want to know how the
They don't
sausage
care
is made.
how it gets there. They just want to eat it. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
So don't forget to spay and neuter Pokemon. We'll see you next week.